My son cashed my $25,000 wedding check, then told me I wasn't invited. I'm Richard Harper, and I just discovered what happens when your child decides you're too embarrassing to exist. Austin needed money for his dream wedding at a Napa Valley vineyard, so I wrote the check, $25,000. Memo line, for my son's happiness. 2 weeks later, I'm asking about my invitation. Austin's response? Dad, it's complicated. You just wouldn't fit in with Serafina's family. Wouldn't fit in. The plumber father doesn't match the Stanford MBA image, so I made a simple decision. I froze every account with his name on it. Then I booked myself a first-class ticket to his wedding. See, Austin doesn't know something important. That embarrassing plumber father? I built half the luxury properties in wine country, including the exact venue where he's planning to say, I do. And if you're enjoying this story of perfectly calculated revenge, hit that subscribe button. I want to hear where you're watching from because this community is growing fast. What happened when I crashed my own son's wedding taught me that sometimes the most expensive gift you can give your child is a lesson in consequences. Let me tell you about Austin Harper. Valedictorian at Marin Academy, Stanford MBA, works at a tech startup in San Francisco making 6 figures. None of that happened by accident. When Austin was 12, his mother Janet died from ovarian cancer. The medical bills were crushing, $180,000 in 18 months. I worked 70-hour weeks to keep us afloat. Harper Plumbing, just me and my truck back then. Austin needed stability, so I enrolled him at Marin Academy, $45,000 a year. Private school kids, I figured, would give him the connections he'd need later. I ate peanut butter sandwiches for lunch so he could have hot meals in the cafeteria. Every parent-teacher conference I showed up in my work clothes. Calloused hands, steel-toe boots. The other parents wore suits and talked about vacation homes. I talked about Austin's grades. He was embarrassed. I could see it in his eyes when classmates asked what his dad did for work. Construction, he'd mumble. Close enough to the truth, but safer somehow. I didn't mind. Pride was a luxury I couldn't afford. Saturday mornings, I'd take him to job sites, taught him to respect honest work. These hands built your future, I'd tell him, showing him how to connect pipes, read blueprints, calculate water pressure. He stopped coming when he turned 16. Had to study, he said, or hang out with friends. I understood. Teenagers need their space. Stanford accepted him with a partial scholarship. I covered the rest, $70,000 a year for 4 years. Then the MBA program, another $120,000. Every tuition payment came from Harper Plumbing profits. He graduated summa cum laude. I was so proud I took a photo of his diploma and kept it in my wallet. Still there, actually. Edges worn from me showing it to customers. My son, the Stanford graduate, I'd say. Their faces would light up. Nobody expects a plumber's kid to go Ivy League. 3 years ago, Austin met Serafina Whitman at a tech conference. Her family owns Whitman vineyards. Been in wine country since 1889. Old money. Real old money. Austin started visiting less. Phone calls got shorter. When he did come by my place in Sebastopol, he'd glance around my modest ranch house like he was seeing it for the first time. The furniture I'd bought second-hand when he was in high school suddenly looked shabby to him. Last Christmas, he brought Serafina home. Sweet girl, actually. Art history degree from UC Berkeley. She asked genuine questions about my work, seemed interested when I explained commercial plumbing systems. But Austin kept steering the conversation away from my job. When Serafina asked about the Harper Plumbing truck in my driveway, Austin said I was in construction management. Close enough to true, I suppose. That night, after they left, I found a business card on my coffee table. Harper Construction Services. Austin had made it himself, changed my title from master plumber to construction manager. I should have said something then. Instead, I kept writing checks. When Austin said he wanted to propose, I offered to pay for the ring. When he said Serafina's family expected a certain kind of wedding, I offered to cover costs. How much are we talking? I asked. 25,000 should cover it, he said. Maybe 30. I wrote the check the next day. 25,000, memo line, Austin's wedding fund. He deposited it that afternoon. The save-the-date cards went out in April. Austin hand-delivered mine personally. June 15th, Whitman Estate, Napa Valley. Cocktails at 5, ceremony at 6, reception under the stars. Black tie optional, he said. But Dad, about that, I'll rent a tux, I interrupted. Don't worry. Actually, Austin said, looking uncomfortable, maybe we should talk about that later. I should have known then, but you always want to believe the best about your kids. The wedding invitation never came. At first I thought it was a postal mistake. Austin had my address, same house where he grew up, same mailbox where I put his Stanford acceptance letter 3 years ago. I waited 2 weeks, nothing. Called Austin's apartment in the city, voicemail, texted him. Haven't received the wedding invitation yet. Should I expect it soon? His response came 6 hours later. Still working out details with the venue. Will send soon. Another week passed. I drove to Serafina's gallery in downtown Napa where she works part-time. Maybe she could clarify the timeline. Mr. Harper? She said, genuinely happy to see me. How exciting about the wedding. 3 weeks away. Yes, I said carefully. About that, I haven't received my invitation yet. Her face changed. Confusion, then something like alarm. Oh, she said. Austin mentioned you might not be able to make it. Work commitments. In June, the slowest month for commercial plumbing. No, I said. I cleared my schedule, wouldn't miss it for anything. Serafina looked genuinely distressed. There might be some confusion. Let me talk to Austin tonight. I drove home wondering what exactly Austin had told her. That evening, my phone rang. Austin. Dad, about the wedding. I'm confused, I said. Serafina seems to think I'm not coming. Long pause. Look, it's complicated. The Whitmans have very specific ideas about the guest list. It's going to be small, intimate. How small? 250 people. 250 people, but no room for the father of the groom. Austin, I said, keeping my voice level. I paid for this wedding. I know and I appreciate that, but Dad, you have to understand. These people, they're different. They have expectations. What kind of expectations? Another pause. The kind where everyone fits a certain profile. 26 years of sacrifice, and I didn't fit the profile. What did you tell them about me? Just that you're in construction, which is true. What else? Nothing specific. Dad, look, maybe it's better this way. You'd probably be bored anyway. All they talk about is wine and art and European vacations. Bored. At my own son's wedding. Austin, I want to be there when you get married. I know. And I want you there too. But the dynamics are complicated. Serafina's parents are old school about these things. Old school. Like having a plumber at their daughter's wedding might lower property values. How old school? They do background checks, Dad. On vendors, staff, anyone who will be photographed. It's not personal. Background checks. On the father of the groom. What did they find? Harper Plumbing. Licensed since 1998. Residential and commercial services. They weren't thrilled. I sat in my kitchen, looking at Austin's Stanford diploma in its frame on my counter. Next to it, the business license for Harper Plumbing, both earned through decades of work. So I'm not invited to your wedding because I'm a plumber. It's not that simple. It sounds exactly that simple. Dad, please, try to understand. This wedding could open doors for me. Harrison Whitman has connections throughout Silicon Valley. Carol sits on boards. If I play this right, it could change my career trajectory. Career trajectory, built on denying his father's existence. What happens after the wedding, I asked. Family dinners? Holidays? Do I just disappear? We'll figure it out. Maybe we say you're retired. That you sold the business. Sold the business. The business that paid for his Stanford education. Austin, I said, I need to think about this. Dad, please don't make this harder than it already is. Harder than it already is. For him. I hung up and sat in my kitchen for a long time. On my refrigerator, photos of Austin through the years. First day of kindergarten, high school graduation, Stanford diploma ceremony. In every photo, I'm smiling, proud father watching his son succeed. In none of them am I embarrassed to be there. That night, I made 2 phone calls. First, to my bank. Account balances on every card with Austin's name. Second, to American Airlines. First-class ticket to San Francisco, connecting to Napa County Airport. June 15th, arriving at 4 p.m. 1 hour before cocktails. Austin called the next morning. Dad, I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday. I've been thinking too, I said. About $25,000. Silence. What about it? I'm wondering if the Whitmans know who paid for their daughter's wedding. Dad, do they? That's not relevant. I think it's very relevant. I think it's the most relevant thing in this entire conversation. I could hear Austin breathing. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Harder. Look, I didn't ask you to pay for the wedding. You offered. I offered because I'm your father, because I wanted to celebrate your marriage. And I appreciate that, but that doesn't give you the right to embarrass me. Embarrass him. The word hit like a physical blow. How would I embarrass you? Dad, come on, be honest. You show up to a Napa Valley wedding with dirt under your fingernails, talking about pipe fittings and sewer lines. These people invest in startups and donate to museums. They don't want to hear about your latest commercial job. 26 years of bite-my-tongue moments suddenly crystallized into perfect clarity. Tell me something, Austin, something. When you filled out financial aid applications for Stanford, what did you put for your father's occupation? What? Your father's occupation. On the forms. Long pause. Master plumber. And when you applied for your MBA program, same question. Dad, what's your point? My point is that title was good enough to get you scholarships, good enough to get you loans, good enough to pay your tuition. But it's not good enough to attend your wedding. It's not about good enough, it's about fit. Fit. Yes, social fit, cultural fit. These people have expectations. What you mean is class expectations. If you want to put it that way, yes. At least he was being honest now. Austin, do you know what I do for a living? Dad, we've covered this. Do you know what I actually do? You're a plumber. I'm a master plumber, licensed commercial contractor. I design water systems for hotels, restaurants, medical facilities. I troubleshoot problems that engineers can't solve. I employ 12 people full-time. Okay, but do you know my annual income? That's not $280,000 last year, before taxes. Silence. Do you know what I own? Dad, why are you doing this? 3 rental properties in Sebastopol, all paid off. Investment portfolio worth $1.8 million. Cash savings that could buy Serafina's engagement ring 10 times over. Austin's breathing changed again. But none of that matters, I continued, because my hands get dirty at work. It's not about your hands. What's it about then? It's about perception, image, first impressions. Whose perception? The Whitmans, their friends, the wedding photographer, everyone who'll be there. Everyone except your father. Dad, please, you're making this about something it's not. What is it about, Austin? It's about respect. The word landed between us like a challenge. Respect, I repeated. Yes, respecting the Whitmans' expectations, respecting Serafina's family traditions, respecting the significance of this event. What about respecting the man who raised you? I do respect you. That's why I'm trying to protect you from an uncomfortable situation. Protect me from discomfort at my son's wedding. Austin, I said, I have a question for you. What? When you were 8 years old and Jeremy Morrison called you the plumber's kid at school, what did I tell you? Long pause. I don't remember. I told you that a man's worth isn't measured by his job title. It's measured by how well he does his job, how he treats other people, and how he takes care of his family. Dad, I told you that every honest job has dignity, that the man who fixes what's broken deserves the same respect as the man who breaks what needs fixing. Times change, Dad. Do they? Or do people just forget who they used to be? What's that supposed to mean? It means I remember a 12-year-old boy who wanted to learn how to solder copper pipes, who asked me to teach him to read blueprints, who said he wanted to work with his hands like his dad. I was 12. Kids say lots of things. They do. But this 12-year-old also wrote me a Father's Day card that said, "Thank you for teaching me that hard work is the best work." Silence. I still have that card, Austin. It's in my desk drawer next to your Stanford acceptance letter and the receipt for your first tuition payment. Dad, I was a kid. I didn't understand how the world works. How does the world work, Austin? It works on connections, networks, social capital. Image matters. Perception matters. More than character. Character doesn't get you invited to the right dinner parties. And dinner parties matter more than family? Family matters. But family can also hold you back. Hold you back. From what? From people who would judge a man by his calluses instead of his character? Austin, I said,
I want you to think about something. What? Who's going to walk you down the aisle? What do you mean? At the wedding. Who gives the father of the groom speech? Who sits in the front row during the ceremony? Long pause. Serafina's father will handle the toasts. And the front row? We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Like I was a seating chart problem to be solved. I see. I said, Dad, please don't be like this. Like what? Difficult. Emotional. I need you to understand. I understand perfectly, Austin. I understand that you're ashamed of me. That's not... I understand that my $25,000 is welcome, but my presence isn't... Dad, I understand that I was good enough to raise you, but not good enough to watch you get married. Please don't make this about that.
What should I make it about?
Make it about wanting what's best for me. What's best for him, a son who denies his father's existence for social advancement. I thought I knew what was best for you, Austin. Turns out I was wrong. I hung up. That afternoon, I drove to my office. Harper Plumbing operates out of a converted warehouse in Sebastopol. Nothing fancy. Concrete floors, metal shelving, fluorescent lights. My desk sits in a corner office with windows overlooking the shop floor. I keep my important papers in a fireproof safe behind my desk. Business licenses, property deeds, insurance policies. The paperwork that tells the real story of Harper Plumbing. I pulled out the contract folder. 2 inches thick, organized by client and date. Every major job from the past 5 years. Fairmont Sonoma Mission Inn. Harper Plumbing redesigned their entire water circulation system. $260,000 contract. Auberge du Soleil.
Emergency repair of their infinity pool filtration during peak season. $85,000 completed in 48 hours. The Lodge at Sonoma Renaissance. Complete renovation of their spa facilities. $320,000. Page after page of luxury hotels, upscale restaurants, exclusive wineries. Harper Plumbing had worked on most of them, including several properties owned by the Whitman family. I found that folder near the back. Whitman Enterprises. 4 separate contracts over 3 years. The main winery building. Root intrusion in the underground drainage system. Fixed it in 2 days. The tasting room expansion. Designed and installed the plumbing for their new commercial kitchen. State-of-the-art system, all copper and stainless steel. The guest cottages. 6 luxury suites for high-end wine tours. Custom bathroom fixtures, heated floors, automated irrigation. And the newest project, the Glass Pavilion. Harrison Whitman had commissioned it 2 years ago for private events. Wedding ceremonies, corporate retreats, anniversary parties. The structure itself was simple. Glass walls, steel frame, retractable roof. But the infrastructure was complex. Climate control, irrigation for the surrounding gardens, a water feature running the length of the north wall. The plumbing contract alone was $48,000. Harper Plumbing designed every pipe, installed every fixture, tested every connection. Austin was getting married in a building I built. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through photos from that job. The pavilion during construction, pipes exposed, systems being tested. My crew working in Harper Plumbing uniforms. There was one photo I particularly liked. Me and my foreman Jake reviewing blueprints, the half-finished pavilion in the background. We're both wearing our company shirts, hard hats, work boots. Professional contractors solving complex problems. I called my financial advisor. "Richard, good to hear from you. How's the plumbing business?" "Profitable," I said. "Listen, I need current valuations on all my holdings." "Everything? The rental properties, investment accounts, business assets?" "Everything. And I need it by tomorrow." "Can I ask why?" "Family meeting?" He laughed. "Kids finally want to know how much they're inheriting?" Something like that. An hour later, I called my insurance agent. "Richard, what can I do for you?" "I need documentation on my general liability coverage. Every policy, every property, every vehicle." "Sure. Any particular reason?" "Want to make sure everything's properly documented." "Of course. Send it over by email?" "Perfect." Third call. My lawyer. "Richard Harper. Haven't heard from you in months. Everything okay?" "Fine. I need copies of all my business licenses, contractor certifications, permits, EPA compliance documents. That's quite a file." "What's the occasion?" "Just want everything organized." "I'll have my assistant compile it. Give me 24 hours. Last call. My accountant. Richard, tax season's not for months. What's up? I need my last 3 years of returns, business and personal. Complete copies. Any particular line items you're interested in? Income statements, asset valuations, proof of earnings. Can I ask what this is for? Due diligence? She laughed. Buying another property? We'll see. By 5 o'clock, I had a comprehensive picture of Harper Plumbing's financial position. Business assets worth $460,000. Annual revenues averaging $750,000. Net profit margins consistently above 30%. Add the real estate portfolio, investment accounts, and cash savings. Total net worth just over $3 million. Not bad for a guy who just fixes pipes. I spent the evening organizing everything into a professional portfolio. Business overview, financial statements, client testimonials, project photos, the kind of documentation you'd present to investors or loan officers, or wedding planners who question your profile. My phone buzzed around 9. Text from Austin. Dad, can we talk tomorrow? I think there's been a misunderstanding. I stared at the message for a long time. Misunderstanding. Like this was all a communication error. I typed back, no misunderstanding. Everything's very clear. He responded immediately. Please don't do anything rash. Rash, like standing up for myself, was impulsive behavior. I'm not doing anything rash, I replied. I'm doing exactly what I should have done 26 years ago. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're about to learn what respect actually costs. He didn't respond. I finished organizing my documentation, placed everything in a leather portfolio, and set it by my front door. Tomorrow, I had a wedding to attend. Friday afternoon, I drove to Napa Valley. The Whitman estate sits on 200 acres of rolling vineyard, established 1889 according to the sign at the main gate. Stone buildings, perfectly manicured grounds, the kind of generational wealth that Austin clearly found irresistible. I parked at the visitor center and walked to the main tasting room. Serafina was supposed to be working there, finalizing wedding details. She looked up when I entered, her face brightening immediately. Mr. Harper, what a wonderful surprise. Are you here for the rehearsal dinner? Actually, I said, I wanted to talk to you about the wedding. Her expression shifted slightly. Of course. Is everything all right? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Austin tells me I wasn't invited. Serafina's face went through several emotions in rapid succession. Confusion, alarm, then something like horror. I'm sorry, what? The wedding invitation. I never received one. But that can't be right.
Of course you're invited. You're Austin's father. That's what I thought. Serafina pulled out her phone, fingers flying over the screen. Let me call our wedding planner. There must be some mistake. She stepped away, speaking in low, urgent tones. I could hear fragments. Father of the groom. Never received. Absolutely unacceptable. When she returned, her face was pale. Mr. Harper, I'm so sorry. There seems to have been a terrible oversight. Let me fix this immediately. What kind of oversight? The wedding planner says Austin specifically requested that your invitation be delayed. Delayed? Until certain details could be finalized. I waited. I don't understand, Serafina continued. Austin told me you had work commitments and might not be able to attend. What exactly did he tell you? Serafina hesitated. He said you were very busy with a big commercial project, that you might have to work through the weekend.
Did he mention what kind of work I do? Another hesitation. He said you were in construction management. Construction management. The lie was spreading. Serafina, I said gently, Austin and I need to have a conversation. Is he here? He's meeting with my parents about the ceremony timeline. They're in the library. Could you show me where that is? Serafina led me through the main house, a restored Victorian mansion with period furnishings and original oil paintings. Old money, tastefully displayed. We stopped outside a heavy wooden door, voices inside, including Austin's. Before you go in, Serafina said quietly, I want you to know that I've been looking forward to meeting you properly. Austin talks about you all the time. What does he say? That you raised him alone after his mother died. That you worked incredibly hard to give him opportunities. That he owes everything to you. Everything except a wedding invitation. I knocked on the door. Come in, a male voice called. The library was exactly what you'd expect. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, leather armchairs, Persian rugs. Austin sat across from two well-dressed people in their 60s, Harrison and Carol Whitman. Austin's face went white when he saw me. Dad, what are you doing here? Serafina invited me to discuss the wedding arrangements. The Whitmans looked confused. Carol spoke first. I'm sorry, we haven't been introduced. I'm Carol Whitman, Serafina's mother. I shook her hand. Richard Harper, Austin's father. Harrison stood and extended his hand as well. Harrison Whitman. Pleasure to meet you, Richard. We've heard so much about you. Have you? Austin tells us you're in construction management. Very successful operation, from what we understand. I looked at Austin, who was staring at his hands. What exactly has Austin told you about my work? Carol answered, that you manage large-scale construction projects throughout Northern California. Impressive resume. Austin says you've worked on some significant commercial developments. Austin, I said, still looking at him, why don't you tell the Whitmans specifically what kind of construction projects I manage? Austin's jaw tightened. Dad, maybe we should discuss this later. I think now is perfect. Mr. and Mrs. Whitman are interested in my work. I'd hate to disappoint them. Harrison leaned forward. We're always fascinated by construction management. Such a complex field. What's your specialty, Richard? Plumbing. Silence. I'm sorry? Carol said. Plumbing. I'm a master plumber. I own Harper Plumbing. The temperature in the room dropped about 10 degrees. Austin, Harrison said slowly, I thought you said your father was in construction management. He is, Austin said quickly. Plumbing is part of construction management. Is it? I asked, or is it just plumbing? Carol and Harrison exchanged glances, the kind of glance that said they were rapidly reassessing something. Well, Carol said diplomatically, plumbing is certainly essential work. Essential, I repeated. Is that how Austin described it? More silence. Richard, Harrison said, we appreciate all the hard work you've done to support Austin's education and career. Serafina tells us you've been very generous with the wedding expenses. $25,000, I said, though I understand I'm not invited to see how it's spent. Serafina gasped. What? Austin stood up abruptly. Dad, please. Please what? Please continue pretending I don't exist? Please keep quiet while you lie to your future in-laws about who I am? Richard, Carol said carefully, I think there's been some confusion. Of course you're invited to the wedding. Actually, I said, Austin specifically told me I wasn't invited because I don't fit the right profile. Harrison's eyebrows rose. Profile? Austin, Serafina said, her voice rising. Is this true? Austin looked trapped. It's not that simple. It seems very simple, I said. Your son is embarrassed that his father is a plumber. He thinks my presence at your daughter's wedding would somehow reflect poorly on him. Carol and Harrison were staring at Austin now. Austin? Carol said quietly. Is this accurate? I just thought, with all your friends coming and the photographers and the press coverage. Press coverage? I asked. Wine Spectator is doing a feature on vineyard weddings, Serafina said faintly. They're photographing our ceremony. And Austin didn't want a plumber in those photos. Harrison stood up. Austin, I think you and I need to have a private conversation. Mr. Whitman, you have to understand. I understand perfectly, Harrison said, his voice ice cold. You lied to us about your father's profession, and then you excluded him from your wedding because you're ashamed of honest work. It's not about being ashamed. Then what is it about? Serafina demanded. Austin looked around the room desperately. It's about fitting in, about belonging, about not having to explain or defend or apologize for what? I asked. For being the plumber's kid. The words hung in the air like an accusation. Carol stood up slowly. Austin, I think you should leave. Mrs. Whitman, now. Austin looked at Serafina. Maddie, please, get out, Serafina said quietly. Just get out. Austin started toward the door, then stopped and turned back to me. Dad, you don't understand what you've just done. I understand perfectly, I said. I've just told the truth. After Austin left, the four of us sat in uncomfortable silence. Finally, Harrison spoke. Richard, I owe you an apology. We had no idea Austin was misrepresenting your profession or excluding you from the wedding. It's not your fault. Nevertheless, this is completely unacceptable. Serafina, cancel the rehearsal dinner. This wedding is postponed until we can sort this out properly. Daddy, no, Serafina said, tears in her eyes. It's not just about Austin lying. It's about what he said, about being the plumber's kid like it's something shameful. She turned to me. Mr. Harper,
I'm so sorry. If I had known... You have nothing to apologize for, Serafina. Yes, I do. I should have asked more questions. I should have insisted on meeting you properly months ago. Carol nodded. We all should have. Richard, would you join us for dinner tonight? We'd like to hear about your work, your life, your son, the real story. I looked around the library, at the family that had welcomed Austin with open arms, and that he had repaid with lies and deception. I'd be honored, I said. Dinner at the Whitman house was enlightening. Carol had prepared herb-crusted salmon with locally sourced vegetables. Harrison opened a 2018 Whitman Reserve Cabernet, their best vintage. The dining room overlooked the vineyards, sunset painting the hills gold, civilized people having a civilized conversation. Richard, Harrison said, passing the wine, tell us about Harper Plumbing. How long have you been in business? 27 years. Started in my garage with a used truck and a toolbox my father left me. Self-made, Carol observed. That's admirable. Hard work and good timing, I said. Commercial construction was booming in the 90s. I focused on luxury properties, hotels, restaurants, wineries. Harrison's interest sharpened. Wineries? Quite a few. Complex plumbing systems, irrigation, filtration, waste management. Most vintners don't realize how much infrastructure goes into a modern winery operation. Have you worked on any properties we might know? I smiled. Actually, I've worked on several Whitman properties. Both Harrison and Carol sat up straighter. When? The main winery building, 3 years ago. Root intrusion in your drainage system. The tasting room expansion 2 years ago. And most recently, the glass pavilion where Serafina was planning to get married. Silence. You built our wedding venue? Serafina asked. Designed and installed all the infrastructure, plumbing, irrigation, the water feature along the north wall. $48,000 contract. Harrison set down his wine glass. Richard, are you telling me that Austin is getting married in a building you constructed? Was getting married? I corrected. And yes. Carol started laughing. Not cruel laughter, genuine amusement at the irony. Oh my God, she said. Austin excluded his father from a wedding taking place in a building his father built. The universe has a sense of humor, I agreed. Harrison was shaking his head. Richard, I have to ask, when you worked on our properties, did you ever mention that your son was dating our daughter? Austin asked me not to, said he wanted to keep family and business separate. More lies, Serafina said bitterly. Harrison leaned back in his chair. Richard, forgive me for being direct, but what's your annual income? Harrison, Carol warned. It's relevant, he said. Austin clearly has some misguided ideas about economic status. I pulled out my portfolio, the same one I'd prepared the night before. Last year, Harper Plumbing grossed $750,000. Net profit was $280,000. I slid the financial statements across the table. These are my tax returns for the past 3 years. Income, assets, investments. Harrison examined the documents, his eyebrows rising. 3.2 million net worth? Approximately. Carol leaned over to look. Richard, you're quite successful. I've been fortunate. Good clients, steady work, smart investments. Does Austin know about your financial position? He knows I own rental properties. He doesn't know the full scope. Harrison continued reading. Richard, according to this, you out-earned most of Silicon Valley last year. Different kinds of work, same green money. Serafina was staring at the papers. Austin said you struggled financially, that you could barely afford his Stanford tuition. I could afford it. I chose to live modestly so Austin would understand the value of money. Apparently he learned the wrong lesson, Carol said dryly. Harrison was examining another document. What's this? Whitman Enterprises contract history? Every job Harper Plumbing has done for your family. 4 contracts over 3 years totaling $136,000. You keep detailed records. Commercial customers expect documentation, permits, inspections, warranty information. I pulled out another folder. These are photos from your projects. The images showed Harper Plumbing crews at work. Professional, organized, efficient. My guys wearing company uniforms, following safety protocols, using high-end equipment. This is during the pavilion construction, I said, pointing to one photo. That's me reviewing the irrigation blueprints with my foreman. In the photo, I'm wearing a Harper Plumbing polo shirt, hard hat, work boots. Professional contractor, solving complex technical problems. Harrison studied the image.
You know, Austin told us his father was too busy to be involved in wedding planning. Looking at these photos, I can see why you're busy. I cleared my schedule for his wedding, turned down 2 jobs. Carol winced. How much lost income? 35,000 roughly. Richard, Harrison said slowly, I'm beginning to understand why you're angry. I'm not angry, I said. I'm disappointed. Serafina had been quiet, studying the financial documents. Finally, she spoke. Mr. Harper, can I ask you something personal? Of course. When Austin was growing up, did you ever make him feel ashamed of your work? Never. I taught him that honest work has dignity, that solving problems with your hands is as valuable as solving them with computers. Then where did this attitude come from? I thought about that. Private school, maybe. Being around kids whose fathers wore suits to work. Austin got teased sometimes for being the plumber's kid. So he internalized the shame, Carol observed. Apparently. Harrison was still examining my business portfolio. Richard, this is impressive documentation. Why did you bring all this tonight? Austin questioned my profile. Whether I fit your family's standards. I wanted you to see the actual profile. Master plumber, successful businessman, self-made millionaire, Harrison summarized. Yeah, I think you meet our standards. The irony, Carol added, is that we prefer self-made success to inherited wealth. More character involved. Serafina looked up from the tax returns. Mr. Harper, Austin told me you live paycheck to paycheck, that his education was a financial strain. It was a sacrifice, not a strain. I chose to save money for his future rather than spend it on myself. Well, he thought you were poor. I thought humility would teach him values. Instead, it taught him to be ashamed, Carol said. Harrison finished reviewing the documents and passed them back to me. Richard, I have a confession. What's that? When Austin first started dating Serafina, I had him investigated. Carol rolled her eyes. Harrison's hobby. Background check on potential sons-in-law, Harrison continued. Standard procedure. What did you find? Stanford MBA, tech job, clean credit history, father listed as owner of Harper Plumbing, Northern California contractor. Solid, respectable business. And? I was impressed. Self-made father, well-educated son, good family story. Did you tell Austin about the investigation? He specifically asked me not to contact you directly, said you were very private about business matters. More lies from Austin, isolating me from the people who might have seen through his deception. Richard, Carol said, there's something else you should know. What? Harrison and I researched Harper Plumbing online after Austin mentioned your work. We read the customer reviews, looked at your project photos. And? We were planning to hire you for our guest house renovation, before we knew about the family connection. I started laughing despite everything. What's funny? Serafina asked. Austin spent months lying about my work to impress you. Meanwhile, you were planning to hire me. Harrison raised his wine glass. To Richard Harper, master plumber, successful businessman, and the kind of father any man would be proud to have. We drank to that, even though my son clearly disagreed. Saturday morning, I checked into the Fairmont Sonoma Mission Inn, Suite 412, facing the courtyard. $700 a night, but sometimes you need to make a statement. I ordered room service breakfast and called my bank. First National, this is Jennifer. Jennifer, this is Richard Harper. Account number 7-739-8821-4456. Good morning, Mr. Harper. How can I help you? I need to freeze all authorized user access on my accounts, effective immediately. All authorized users? Austin Harper. Remove his access to checking, savings, and both credit cards. May I ask the reason for this action? Family emergency. Austin needs to learn financial responsibility. I understand. This will take effect within 1 hour. Is there anything else? Yes. I need documentation of all transactions Austin has made in the past 6 months, especially large purchases. I can email that within 2 hours. Perfect. Next call. American Express. This is Richard Harper, account 3-791-234-456-78001. I need to cancel the supplementary card for Austin Harper. Certainly, Mr. Harper. May I ask the reason? The authorized user is no longer authorized. Effective immediately. Effective immediately. Third call. Visa. Same conversation, same result. By noon, Austin had no access to any account with my name on it. My phone rang at 12:47 p.m. Dad, what the hell is going on? My cards aren't working. Which cards? All of them. I'm trying to pay for the rehearsal lunch and every card is declined. Interesting. Dad, this isn't funny. This isn't. I'm standing in front of 50 people and I can't pay the check.
Did you call your bank? They said you froze my access to all accounts. That's correct. Why would you do that? You said you wanted to keep family and business separate. I'm helping you achieve that goal. Dad, please, we can work this out after the wedding. There won't be an after the wedding, Austin. Serafina postponed it. Silence. What? She postponed the wedding, indefinitely. No, that's not possible. Everything's arranged. The catering, the flowers, the photographer. The venue's still available. I built it, remember? Dad, you don't understand. I can't cancel this. The Whitmans have invited everyone they know. Wine Spectator is covering it. This could ruin my career. Your career. Still worried about your career. Of course I'm worried about my career. That's what this is all about. What about your character, Austin? My what? Your character.
The thing that matters more than your career. Dad, I don't have time for philosophy. I need money. The vendors expect payment today. How much money? $15,000 for catering, $8,000 for flowers, $12,000 for the band, $35,000. Yes, and I can't access any of my accounts. Why don't you ask Harrison Whitman to lend it to you? I can't do that. Why not? You're marrying his daughter. Surely he'd help out his future son-in-law. Dad, please, I'm begging you. You're begging me. Yes, the father you didn't invite to your wedding. Dad, the plumber who embarrasses you. I never said you embarrassed me. You said I didn't fit the profile. You said I'd bore people with stories about pipe fittings and sewer lines. Silence. Austin, I'm at the Fairmont Sonoma Mission Inn, Suite 412. Why don't you come by? We need to talk. You're here? In Napa? Flew first class this morning, United 1247, Seat 1A, but the wedding's off. Is it? I thought maybe I'd attend anyway, see how my $25,000 was spent. Dad, you can't. Serafina's family will be here, and the press, and you'll be embarrassed to have your father present. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. I hung up. An hour later, Austin knocked on my door. He looked terrible. Rumpled shirt, no tie, hair uncombed. The polished Stanford MBA had been replaced by a panicked kid who couldn't pay his bills. Dad, thank you for seeing me. Come in, Austin. He sat on the couch, head in his hands. This is a disaster. Everything's falling apart. Tell me about it. Serafina won't talk to me. Her parents think I'm a liar. The wedding vendors want payment I can't provide. And somehow this is all supposed to be my fault. Whose fault is it? I don't know. I was trying to do the right thing. What's the right thing, Austin? Protecting everyone from an uncomfortable situation? Who was uncomfortable? Everyone would have been uncomfortable. Including me? Especially you. Dad, these people are different. They talk about art and wine and European travel. You would have felt out of place. Let me understand this. You excluded me from your wedding to protect my feelings. Partly, yes. What was the other part? Long pause. I didn't want them to judge me based on what you do for a living. What I do for a living. Yes. Austin, what do I do for a living? You're a plumber. What else? I don't understand. What else do I do? You fix pipes. What else? Dad, what are you getting at? I pulled out my business portfolio and set it on the coffee table. Open it. Austin opened the folder. His face went through several changes as he read. 3.2 million? Net worth, yes. You're a millionaire? Several times over. But you live in that little house. You drive a 10-year-old truck. You wear work clothes everywhere. I live below my means so you could live above yours. Austin stared at the financial statements. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted you to develop a work ethic, to understand that money has to be earned. But I could have. We could have. What? Bought respect? Purchased acceptance? We could have fit in. Austin, I already fit in. I'm a successful contractor who built half the luxury properties in this valley, including the venue where you plan to get married. You built the Whitman Pavilion? Designed and installed every system. The Whitmans know my work better than you do. Austin closed the portfolio. So this whole time, you could have impressed them. I didn't need to impress them, Austin. My work had already done that. He sat back, looking stunned. I've ruined everything, haven't I?
What do you think? Austin left my hotel room around 4 o'clock. He'd spent 2 hours alternating between apologies and excuses. Sorry for lying, but the Whitmans had high standards. Sorry for excluding me, but he thought it was better for everyone. Sorry for calling me embarrassing, but couldn't I understand the pressure he was under? No, I couldn't understand the pressure of being ashamed of your father. At 5:30, I got a call from Serafina. Mr. Harper? It's Serafina Whitman. Could I possibly speak with you? Of course, where are you? Downstairs in the lobby. I know it's presumptuous, but I was hoping we could talk. I'll be right down. I found Serafina in the lobby lounge, still wearing her rehearsal dress from yesterday. She looked like she hadn't slept. Serafina, how are you holding up? Not well, she admitted. Everything's such a mess. We sat in a quiet corner.
Serafina ordered coffee. I stuck with water. Mr. Harper, I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Austin came to see me after he left your room. He told me about your financial situation. What about it? He said you're quite wealthy, that you've been wealthy all along. That's correct. And he never knew. I never told him the full extent. Serafina shook her head. I don't understand. Why would you hide your success from your own son? I thought humility would teach him character. Instead, it taught him to be ashamed. Apparently. Serafina sipped her coffee, thinking, Mr. Harper, can I tell you something about my family? Please. We're not old money. Not really. My great-grandfather was a farmhand who saved enough to buy 20 acres during the Depression. My grandfather expanded it to 50 acres. My father built it into what it is today. Self-made success then. Exactly. 3 generations of hard work. My parents respect that more than anything else.
Even when it involves getting your hands dirty? Especially then. My father still works in the vineyards during harvest. My mother manages the business side, but she started by cleaning tasting rooms and washing bottles. I thought about Austin's assumptions regarding the Whitmans' attitudes toward blue-collar work. Serafina, did your parents ever say anything negative about my profession? The opposite. When they found out you were a plumber, my father said he respected people who solved real problems with their hands. Austin told me they'd be horrified. Austin told us you were in construction management. When we learned the truth, we were impressed that you'd built a successful business from nothing. Another misconception on Austin's part. Serafina, what's going to happen with the wedding? Her face crumpled slightly. I don't know. Yesterday I thought I was marrying someone I understood.
Now I feel like I don't know Austin at all. What's changed? Everything. The lying, obviously, but more than that, the values. Austin thinks success means hiding where you came from. In my family, success means honoring where you came from. Those are very different philosophies. Right. And I'm wondering if we're compatible at all. She pulled out her phone and showed me a text message from Austin. Serafina, please call me. I can explain everything. This is all a misunderstanding. What do you think? She asked. I think Austin believes his own version of events. He's convinced himself that he was protecting everyone from embarrassment. Was he protecting everyone, or was he protecting himself? What do you think? Serafina put her phone away. I think he was protecting an image of himself that required denying who his father was. We sat in silence for a moment. Mr. Harper, can I ask you something else? Of course. Are you proud of Austin? The question caught me off guard. I was, I said finally. Stanford MBA, good job, seemed to have his life together. And now? Now I'm wondering where I went wrong. You didn't go wrong. You gave him every opportunity to succeed. I also gave him every reason to be ashamed of where those opportunities came from. Serafina shook her head. That's not on you, that's on him. My phone buzzed. Text from Austin. Dad, I'm at the wedding venue. The caterers are here. Please call me. I showed the message to Serafina. He's still trying to salvage the wedding, she said. Are you? I don't know. Yesterday I was excited to marry Austin Harper, Stanford MBA with the bright future. Today I'm not sure I want to marry Austin Harper, the man who's ashamed of his father. Those might be the same person. That's what scares me. At 6 o'clock my phone rang. Austin. Dad, please. The caterers are setting up, the flowers are here, and I can't pay anyone. Where's Serafina? She won't answer my calls. Maybe that should tell you something. Dad, I know I messed up, but this can still be fixed. If you just restore my account access, Austin, the money isn't the problem. Then what is? The problem is that you're still focused on salvaging the wedding instead of understanding why it fell apart. I understand. I made mistakes. But we can work through this after. There might not be an after, Austin. What do you mean? I mean, Serafina is reconsidering everything, not just the wedding, the entire relationship. Silence. She can't do that. She can do whatever she wants. It's her choice. Dad, please, talk to her. Explain that I was just trying to do the right thing. What was the right thing, Austin? Making sure everyone was comfortable. Everyone except your father. I never meant to hurt you. But you did hurt me. And more importantly, you hurt yourself. How did I hurt myself? You missed the chance to have a father at your wedding. You gave up the opportunity to introduce me to people who might have respected what I've accomplished. You chose shame over pride, image over authenticity. I can fix this. Can you? How? Long pause. I don't know. Austin, I'm going to give you some advice. Stop trying to fix the wedding. Start trying to fix yourself. What's that supposed to mean? It means figure out whether you're proud of where you came from or whether you're going to spend your life running from it. And if I choose wrong, then you'll end up alone in a room full of people who don't really know you. I hung up. Later that evening, Serafina called again. Mr. Harper, I wanted to let you know I've decided to call off the wedding, permanently. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm not. I think it's the right decision. What will you do now? I think I'll take some time to figure out what I really want in a partner. Someone who's proud of where they came from might be a good start. That sounds wise. Mr. Harper? Yes. Thank you. For what? For showing me who Austin really is before I married him. Sunday morning I checked out of the Fairmont and drove home to Sebastopol. My phone had 17 missed calls from Austin. I didn't return them. Monday I went back to work. Harper Plumbing had 3 jobs scheduled that week. A restaurant renovation, a hotel expansion, and a residential remodel. Normal problems, normal solutions. It felt good to work with my hands again. Tuesday afternoon, Austin showed up at my office. Dad, we need to talk. Do we? Please. 5 minutes. I led him to my office and closed the door. The wedding's officially canceled, he said. Serafina called off the engagement. I heard. The Whitmans want nothing to do with me. Serafina won't answer my calls, and somehow I'm out $25,000 for a wedding that never happened. The vendors still got paid? Serafina's parents covered the costs. They said it wasn't fair to punish the vendors for my mistakes. Generous of them. Dad, I need to know. Are you going to restore my account access? I studied my son, still focused on the money. Austin, what have you learned from this experience? That lying was a mistake. What else? That I should have been honest about your work. What else? Long pause. I don't know what else you want me to say. I want you to say whether you're proud of your father. Of course I'm proud of you. Are you? Or are you just sorry you got caught lying? Austin looked uncomfortable. Dad, I've always been proud of you. You raised me alone, put me through Stanford, built a successful business. But you were ashamed to have me at your wedding. I was scared. Of what? Of being judged, of not fitting in, of people thinking less of me because my father works with his hands. And now? Now I realize that was stupid. Do you? Or do you realize that my hands built a $3 million net worth? Both, I guess. I leaned back in my chair. Austin, I'm going to restore your account access, but with conditions. What conditions? You're going to work for Harper Plumbing this summer. Learn the business from the ground up. Understand what it means to solve real problems with your hands. Dad, I have a career. Your career will wait. This won't. Austin thought about it. And if I refuse? Then you figure out your financial situation on your own. That's not much of a choice. Son, most choices in life aren't. He stood up. I'll think about it. You do that. After he left, I called Serafina. How are you doing? Better, she said. Sad, but better. Any regrets? About canceling the wedding? None. About the time I wasted?
A few?
You're young. You'll find someone who's proud of where they came from. I hope so. What about Austin? Austin needs to figure out who he wants to be. And if he chooses wrong, then he'll learn that respect can't be inherited. It has to be earned.